Welcome to Speaking Prowess, the show that supercharges your communication and fuels unstoppable success. Sifu Rafael, visionary founder and world-renowned master instructor, elevates leaders into unforgettable communicators who command the room and inspire action. Alongside him is Scott Schilling, the authentic connector, a business growth expert with 40 years of experience, empowering audiences to rise higher, succeed faster, and thrive with purpose. Together, they bring you the strategies, insights, and inspiration to amplify your voice, expand your influence, and unlock your true potential. This is Speaking Prowess. Your journey to communication mastery starts now.
5, 4, 3,
Scott, how are you, my friend?
I'm fabulous, Sifu. I'll get better, though. How about you?
I'm exceptional and getting better every day. And you
Absolutely.
don't just get better, you get phenomenally better. So thank you for that.
Thank you. It's always an honor to be with you.
Likewise. I'm so glad that we like each other, but guess what? We have an incredible guest, maybe two joining us, but definitely one. Let's not waste any time because the topic today is a great one. Would you mind telling everybody what the topic is?
Well,
I know it's communicating, and I love this, but I just love the way you say it. So go for it.
It's communicating your value at the highest level. It's making sure that people understand what value truly is. And we could have no better guests, for sure.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. You know, one of the things that I believe is also that people don't pay for what you necessarily say. It's the way you say it and how clearly you communicate what you do. That's what they pay for, isn't it?
Very much so. I mean, you've got to be able to communicate your value because whatever you say up front is an intangible. They can't feel it. They can't touch it. So you've got to be able to communicate tangibility before it becomes tangible. Again.
So without further ado, let's bring in Lena. Welcome to Speaking Prowess. How are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. What a pleasure you are too. We had you at the New York City experience, and it was truly an experience to be in the room with you. And everybody still talks about what you brought that day. So thank you for that. But today, I love the conversation we're going to have. Is communicating at the highest level in order to get, I guess, your message across, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So give us some insights.
I was thinking about this topic before I joined, because in the world where I operate, we talk about money a lot, and people ask me questions about what is the right price for? What is the right price for my offer? What is the right price for my hour? What is the right price for? And I have learned that price is only an issue in the absence of the value.
Very well said. I mean, if you can't communicate the deliverable value, the price is both irrelevant and probably too high until you can get the other point across. Is that the way you see it?
That is so well put. It's almost like what happens when you go out for dinner. What is the right price for a menu item? There is no such thing. I'm pretty sure that you've had $20 steaks, $50 steaks, and maybe even $80, $90 steaks. What was the difference? It was the value. And it's not just how the meal is prepared. It's probably the environment, the atmosphere, right? That vibe.
I'm afraid of the $20 steak, to be honest with you. Because maybe it was man-made.
Sifu, I am so glad you said that. And I actually use that a lot when I talk to people about pricing and the value. I actually use hot dog and I question people who would today, we're not talking 1980, we're talking today, who would buy a $1 hot dog? And people usually cringe and laugh. I'm like, do you understand that if we undervalue our services, this is partially why we experience interruption in the client and business flow? Because it is as challenging to close the sale if you are undervalued as if you were priced yourself out of the market.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah, very
I think
much.
if you, go
Very
ahead.
much so. Well, I was just going to say very much so. You know, and quite frankly, if you as the provider don't understand your value and can't communicate it, how can somebody accept your value, whatever that might be? I mean, I think it's really important to be able to truly understand what you deliver, and many times why you deliver it is as important is really understanding the deliverable itself. So you've got to understand all the foundation before. One of the industries that I work a lot in the holistic disciplines, chiropractic, a chiropractic adjustment might take 5 seconds, and yet somebody says, well, that'll be $80. Wow, that's $80 for 5 seconds. It's not $80 for 5 seconds. It's $80 for the 14 quarters of education that it took and all the previous that got them the experience to make that 5-second adjustment properly.
That's right. So we do have an incredible human being who's joining us, who is in the green room. So let's not waste any time and go ahead and bring Jaclyn in. Jaclyn,
Good morning.
welcome to Speaking Prowess.
More value.
Good morning. Yes, sorry for being late. A few technical difficulties this morning. Gotta love computers and internet when it's raining in Reno.
There you go. There you go. So, you know, one of the things that I believe that, and we're talking about the value and everything, but if your message is confusing, then your income will also be very inconsistent because people don't know what you're talking about. They don't know the value of what you're bringing forth, or even if you don't know how to express the value of what they're going to get. If it's very confusing, if there's no clarity, I think people are going to like turn off.
Yeah. You know, I just got an email the other day about, some offer, right? And they're like, we want you to be part of this community and they're like, and it's super special and it's blah, blah, whatever. And I'm like, okay, so why do I want to be in it? And I went back and I said, so please tell me the benefits of being part of this community. I love the fact that it's all nice and cozy, but no offense, who cares? Like, what's the benefit? And they came back again and said, well, it's a nice, cozy community. I'm like, what am I getting out of this community? If I want nice and cozy, I can wrap myself in a blanket and put on a fire and, and drink a glass of wine and I'm nice and cozy. What am I getting? Why do you want me in this? Like, what's the benefit? Like, again, what's the benefit? Nothing.
Yeah.
Jaclyn, I love how you put it because I think you just offered a beautiful definition of the value. It's not about what we're giving. It's about what other person is receiving from us.
And I kept saying, like, so I'm happy to be part of a community, but what's going to be the exchange? Like, who am I going to be meeting? And, are you giving me tips and tricks or something that I don't know, like,
I think you said a very important word there. What's the exchange?
Yeah.
Right? There's an exchange of value when you're communicating your value at the highest level. It's truly being able to communicate the exchange that goes to both sides, right? Nobody will ever resist giving you any amount of money, provided they truly believe deep down that they will receive more in return. I can't think of a case in history where somebody hasn't been willing to pony up whatever it takes if in fact they know they're getting more in return. So a big part of that is in the messaging and in the communication, but the other side of it is actually in the delivery
Right.
of that value. And so it's great to feel warm and cozy and toasty, and just as you described. And I agree with Lena. I think you made an apt description there. It's not the only way you can feel warm and cozy and fuzzy. You can wrap yourself up, sit by a fireplace, and achieve a similar feeling.
Right.
It's really the process of, but I could have done that anyway.
Right.
So there's nothing special about this. What makes this special? A novel concept. Maybe I'm the only one who believes this, but people like to feel special.
People do like to feel special, and if you're going to be part, and even communicating, right? This morning I heard Elvis sing his song "Words." I'm going to butcher the title of it, but because I was on my Peloton and I didn't even realize like the name of the song. But what struck me in the song is that, that basically says the only thing that I can give you are my words, like to make you feel special. And it's so true. The way that we communicate, both when we are sharing an offer or we're presenting, if we can make the other person feel really good, or the people feel engaged and get that warm and fuzzy feeling, we're doing a good job. But when we don't do that, or that feeling of being sold, that's not warm and fuzzy.
Right.
I think that community needed clarity. And if you think of clarity as your currency, the clearer you are, the clearer they were with you, the easier it would have been for you to see there's value here. I want to join your cozy community.
Right, your cozy community.
No coziness. There's no clarity. So the messaging, I think once they get their messaging right, and maybe hopefully they're listening today, this community will say, wait a minute, Jaclyn is so right. And she's not in our community because we didn't give her any clarity. Our messaging is off. So let's go and look back and see where we are missing the key ingredient, which is clarity.
Right.
Why do we want Jaclyn in the community? What's the purpose? What's her purpose? How's she going to benefit? And remember, when we're trying to sell somebody something, it's not about how we're going to benefit that they're going to want to join. It's how are they going to benefit? What's in it for them, right? It's everybody's favorite radio station, right?
Right. So
Absolutely.
true.
I think that there's such a great misunderstanding of, and I share it often. It's 4 words: identify problem, provide solution. Everybody gets so enamored with their solution. Everybody needs my solution. Everybody needs anybody and everybody is not a market, by the way, right? You have to take it down to in personalization. And that's why I think that's the difference between communicating your value and communicating your value at the highest level. I think part of it is understanding the communication process itself. And the more you are adept at personalizing your communication, Lena and I were talking before we started about some of the events she's been doing this week, and being able to communicate a message to a very specific, tight group. So I know you did a great job of penetrating that. Lena, what did you do to personalize it to them?
I actually did a lot of homework. I did research. So I had an opportunity to run several workshops for ASTA, American Society of Travel Agents. And, one thing I've learned early on is it's really never the right thing to assume that you know something just because you are the second cousin twice removed. So yes, I've gone on vacations and I've even stayed at all inclusives. That didn't make me a travel agent, even less so travel advisor. So I did a lot of crowdsourcing. Like I use social media and I ask questions like, hey, when I say travel agent versus travel advisor, is it a play on words or does it mean something for you? If you're in travel business, how's it going? How are you feeling the industry responding to 2026? Things of that nature. And taking all of those data points allowed me to curate messages that were specific to them. So when I was talking about, my bread and butter, which is energy, limiting beliefs, identity work, I used examples from their day to day. And they were laughing and they were relating because it wasn't about me, the personal energy advisor. It was about them, the travel advisors who are looking to break through the revenue plateau in their agencies. And that made that message relevant to them. They heard the value because it was relatable. It was within their frame of reference.
I like to say that a lot of people, before they even say anything out loud, like a proposition, an offer, or anything like that, they have already said it to themselves. And if they haven't said it to themselves, they're going to be shocked about what comes out. So we have to practice our offer, don't we? I mean, Lena, you're helping these people understand that whatever it is that they're going to offer, they need to internalize it so it comes out naturally, doesn't it?
Well, and I think that's where the clarity comes through in communicating the value at the highest level, right? Like none of us is peanut butter to be spread thin and be all to all people. And when somebody tells me, whether it's, somebody in the service industry or, coach who says, you know what, I am multi-passionate, I can help anybody with the pulse. That actually isn't a badge of honor. That is lack of clarity. Because we are energy bundles and every one of us is vibrating on a certain frequency. So when we're saying that I can connect to any frequency, what we're implying is I'm in a state of static.
I thought you were talking about an EMT for a second. Because they can help most anybody with a pulse, right?
Well, I think it's a very valuable statement if you just sit and reflect on it for a second, because again, you don't get to the stages of business and opportunity and relationships that people have as you become more mature. Code word for older. The fact is you've had these opportunities along the way. And yeah, it's more than likely possible to be able to connect on all those frequencies. The question is it the best utilization of what you've achieved or whatever? Not from an ego or arrogance side, but from a productivity side, from a being able to from an efficiency side. Quite frankly, it's interesting. I had an early morning meeting, and the guy said, our business is rocking. And I said, that's awesome. So what challenges do you have? Oh, I don't have any. I said, okay, that's amazing. I got to tell you, I got a blue ribbon for you because you're the only business in history that's never had a challenge. And 2 seconds later, he said, yeah, 80 hours a week is just not all that great. And I said, well, I'm glad you don't have any challenges. And the point is, he's self-administering and implementing and executing the vast majority of his business, but he doesn't have any challenges. And I said, well, it's great that you don't have any family relationships, that you don't have a spouse or significant other, that you don't have any kids. How long are you planning not to have those things? And I said, because at this rate, it's going to be a long time. And he said, well, that's a unique way to say it. And I said, dude, I'm on your side. That's not life. That's not what this is about. And I think it goes back to what, Sifu said from a clarity standpoint as well, right? Is having clarity. I think many times people get all wrapped up in their intent is awesome. Their implementation and execution, maybe not so much. Any thoughts on that?
I got to say, Scott, you made me think. I overheard something, I think it was this week or last week, on somebody that was speaking, and they said they had somebody who came into the business, not their business, someone else's business, and they were rocking it as a salesperson. And the more they got to know the business, the less they were rocking it, because then they started finding out all the problems that the business actually had. And they kind of self-sabotaged themselves, because when they knew less of the business, they were able to sell it because they didn't understand the full messaging. But when they understood the full messaging, they kind of shut down. They stopped believing in the product, and all of a sudden they couldn't sell as much. So I think the messaging has to be clear and has to be honest, especially when you're bringing salespeople to sell your product. And I think, and that's what made me think of that. So
Sifu, I'm chuckling because it takes me back to being 22-year-old Scott on the retail floor, and our company created a product that was $799 that was so over-engineered. It was the most amazing thing on the planet, quite frankly. It could suck the top off of pots. I mean, it was a microwave vent hood. It was amazing, except our biggest competitor had a $299 version that couldn't suck the top off a pot, but they weren't really designed to do that, right? And that being said, the company introduced the product, and I literally sold, out of my account in Chicago, I sold 78% of the country's entire sales of that the first month it came out. And they said, how'd you do that? And I said, well, I was just too dumb to know I wasn't supposed to. And so that's what it made me think of, is that story. And as soon as you start to understand how out of the market that offer was, you start to pull it back. And yet, for those people, it was truly high value for a very small group of people.
I love that point. And Sifu, what resonated for me was, and again, it's part of what I do, is the power of the mind. I always say that when we are first born, we're born as believers. And the older we get, we become the beliefs. What do I mean by that? If you take a baby or a toddler, they're a believer. The world is their oyster. They're convinced that all it takes to have what they want is to speak it into existence, right? It's just to tell their parents or their loved ones, or preferably grandparents, that's a shoo-in, what they want, and they're going to get it. However, as we get older, as we learn the business, we start acquiring those beliefs, and some of them are not even ours. And we accept them as the truth, and we become those beliefs. So now we think like, wait a minute, I don't always get what I want. I have to earn that. And probably I have to work harder to earn more. And we get into this contemporary hustle and grind race, which in reality is just beliefs that we have acquired from other people.
Yeah, I love that, because if you don't believe your own message, the world won't believe it either. Right. And so you're right. As kids, we're not skeptical. As we get older, as Scott likes to say, more mature, we become more skeptical. So now it's a matter of convincing someone of your message. And if you don't have conviction behind it, how can you?
You know, Sifu, I would almost say it's like passion behind it, right? You know, so you didn't like, you know, Scott's talking about the product that he's selling. I mean, may have been some passion behind it because maybe you knew about the other company, but it's like, you don't know what you don't know. So you like, I believe in this. I'm so passionate about it. This is like the bee's knees. And you speak with exuberance and passion because and you believe in it. And then, you know, again, then, you know, with the other story, when you start to know the product and then you stop believing in it and you can't speak with it with that passion and, as you said, conviction, then the sales drop. But when you have that, and it's like with your message, when you're so passionate about what you are doing and you can speak, it just comes like people can feel it oozing out of you because you just are so clear and passionate and knowing what you want to do and knowing that you have something to offer and to give and it just eases out of your pores, right? But as soon as the doubt, you know, our mind begins to shift in and we start doubting what we're doing, or we don't have that same passion, or, you know, in that product sales, oh crap, I don't want to sell this to somebody because it's not really going to work. We start to, right? Like the doubt kind of creeps in, and then we're not clear on our message and the passion goes away.
And you know what?
Go ahead, Lena.
I was going to say, Jaclyn, that I would say is true even in our own business when we represent our own products.
Yes.
As a coach, I have built programs that I wasn't enamored with. I couldn't give them away for free.
Right.
I don't mean it as a figure of speech. I would host a free event and I would have like 3 people in it, 2 of them being family members. And when I step back, I mean, relatable, right? A little bit ouch, but I was like, I never wanted to hang out with that offer anyway. So the self-sabotage is powerful because we can convince ourselves either way. Like that everybody's favorite cliche of manifestation, it's not just about getting what you want. It is also materializing what you don't want as long as you're focused on it.
Right. Oh, no, it's so true. I mean, I think every one of us has probably had some offer or something that we put out there like, oh, God, I don't even want to even put it out there, right? Because after you maybe create it, you're like, was that really the best thing? Right. And it comes, again, it comes out in how we end up presenting it too. You know, I'll never forget, I was, you know, how we feel about something and how we present it, our energy, you know, really comes out. And so what is, I will never forget this. And I've shared this story a little bit. So sorry for you guys if you've heard it, but I went to, I literally was like not doing great in sales and at this, and like, I was doing great. And then there was a shift and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I'm like, Jaclyn, you're not having fun. Like you're not walking in having fun with this. And so I changed what I was doing. I flipped a little bit things. And then I walked into this presentation and I had everybody it was my birthday year, my turning 50. So, you know, I'm a little bit older than 50. And I gave everybody birthday hats. Everybody who was at the presentation had in sparkly birthday hats that they actually probably hated me afterwards because it left sparkles everywhere, you know, like on your clothes and your hands. You're like, oh, okay, I got it. Anyway, but we had so much fun. Like it was a total shift, and my energy was different. Everybody's energy was different, and I walked out of there more sales than I had ever even dreamed of. And it was like, oh, I'm back, right? But what happened is it's like my energy shifted and my belief in myself shifted, but I also made it so much more fun and entertaining for everybody. So, you know, and again, that energy comes out, and how we communicate, you know, really our energy is going to impact that communication.
So you
I-
bought stocking glitter hats.
I
It's what you-
did. I bought stocking glitter hats, and really, what I told everybody, literally, go get your lint brush afterwards. I'm hoping it gets the sparkle out, off your clothes. But I told them, like, but I all want you to keep sparkling because you are all a sparker. So it's a little gift, a little extra memento that you'll be able to remember me by.
I got to tell you, conviction really closes the gap, because if there's any gap in anything that you're doing, but when when you have such deep conviction, it's really going to push through, and it's going to get the job done, right? And sometimes it's not the strategy as much as the conviction. And I believe that we need to feel that what we're presenting is the best thing since the wheel was invented, right? I'm not going to say sliced bread, because, if you know me about bread.
Yeah, he doesn't believe in bread. So
don't
just
believe in
don't
bread.
even use that example.
You know what? I would even take it further and say revenue in and of itself is not random. It's a response.
Yeah, very, very much so. I think that the thing that's interesting, and Sifu, as you were sharing, my mind flashed to you in training so many youth in martial arts, and boy, if you don't have the belief you can break a board, you're not breaking a board, or whatever. Now that might be dramatic for some people to think about it, but it's the exact same thing. I think it's interesting that people. There is example after example after example of rehearsing ahead of presentation, ahead of whatever. And we are not in a world lacking information. We are in a world full of misinformation and all sorts of other stuff. But it shouldn't preclude you from trying to find out the right information and then being able to do it. Walking through. Again, I had a very early morning call with somebody. They asked me to come out on a sales call with them, and so I was just watching. And novel concept. This happened to be one of the younger generations. I won't say exactly which generation. But throughout the meeting, 5 times they went to their phone and totally got out of the conversation, because I was leading the conversation, or I was having the conversation with the prospect, and they went to their phone. And they're looking down and they're texting and they're doing a variety of different things, and then they put their phone down and then they kind of re-engage. And so the immediate question after it was, so is there anything I can improve on? I said, yeah, it's called being where your feet are. And he said, what does that mean? I said, it's very simple. Be where your feet are. If you're sitting in a meeting, you're in a meeting. And your presence is 100% in that meeting until it's not. When your feet move, so does your attention.
Right.
And he said, well, what did I do? And isn't it amazing that that portion of behavior has become so unconscious competent that they didn't even think about the fact that could potentially impact communicating their value.
Yeah.
And so again, I share it only from an observation standpoint, is many times you don't understand or you don't even see it yourself, which is the value of having somebody oversee and do whatever. I know, again, Sifu, I've watched the videos of you working with kids, and just to have you in your purview on them and what they're doing is so cool to see, because you're truly working to help them get to where they desire to go. But sometimes it takes that thumb in the back, right?
Right. Scott, I'm so glad that you brought that up. Sifu knows firsthand that, oh God, I feel like my hand just like came out like 3D. But firsthand, he knows, like, there is, I had been working with somebody, and Sifu brought it up. We were on a call, and he said, your partner, who's now not my partner, is moving around and he's on and off camera, and it's disrespectful, and I'm cringing. And I ended up saying something to him, and it's so true. We don't realize, like, if you're in a meeting and you're gonna log in, be present. And that same thing where you were saying somebody picking up their phone separately, I was in a meeting with somebody and I was trying to help this woman recruit somebody onto her team, and me and the prospect were having a conversation, and this girl who I'm trying to help, literally on her phone the entire time. And what do you think the prospect said? She said no. And I'm like, I don't blame you. She's like, there's no way I could never be on her team. And I was like, and again, I'm trying to kick her under the table. Right? I'm doing the kick. And she's looking at me like, no idea what she was doing. And it's like one of those things. It's like, you think it's common sense, but obviously common sense, as we all know, is not so common. But you would think people would understand when you are sitting in a meeting with somebody, number one, turn off your phone, put it away, things that could be distracting, eliminate. I don't know. It's, to me, it's basic, but obviously not so basic.
I think one of the places our opportunity lies today is being able to share basic.
Right.
Because nobody has taken the time to share basic with the vast majority of people. I mean, we assume there is a friend that prefers to communicate one way, and that would be messenger DMs. And that is not the way everybody prefers. And so therefore, I literally was in a conversation with somebody that was saying, hey, I kind of got scolded because I didn't see a message. Well, I haven't been on Messenger for a month. So it became the recipient's fault for not seeing the message.
Mm-hmm.
See, we all have, that's why these shows, and I'm honored to be able to do this with Sifu and have such great guests, because I think that our opportunity is sharing the wisdom that has come over a period of time to say, communicating your value is one thing. Communicating at the highest levels, there's a reason the word highest is in there. We're communicating every minute of every day. We don't have to open our pie holes, and we're communicating on this show, just sitting here, right?
I gotta say, Scott, when you brought up earlier martial arts and board breaking, and one of the things is that we really don't break boards in what I do, because and it's my choice, right? Because we can easily get boards, and sometimes I do it for birthday parties and stuff like that. But the reason I don't have people breaking boards is because the boards don't hit back. I'd rather have them fight with people who hit back, right? A board is, listen, I was at an event in Texas, not far from Dallas, actually. And there was a young kid there. And I was at a martial arts school, I was at a martial arts school, and their whole thing was breaking boards. And how many boards can you break? And this and that. And, I've broken bricks plenty of times. And I didn't tell him that I was using a sledgehammer, but besides the point. The thing is, this poor 17-year-old kid broke his hand. Now, the kid continued hitting the boards because it was like this thick, and he just kept doing it. He obviously was not taught how to break the board, right? Because other people who were more experienced than him broke the board. But the whole thing is that this kid would not give up. He had the heart of a lion. He kept doing it, even though he was breaking his hand in the process.
Yeah.
Now, the communication was not clear because he wanted to pass. and it was a test. So he was not prepped correctly. And so for me, I said, why is him becoming a black belt or him going to the next level of a black belt have to break his hand? What does that prove to whom? So the message wasn't clear,
Right.
because if he would have hit somebody, a person, he would have hurt them. But because he needed to prove something, he hurt himself. And guess what? The board didn't care.
Right. Mm.
I
So
think
the
that's
message
a great
was super
distinction.
clear. Yeah,
That's
the value of the communication was not there.
Yeah.
And for the school owner, that I was actually doing seminars for them that weekend, did not stop the kid from continually hurting himself, was what broke my heart. Right. So, and then later on, because the kid, that was on a Friday, he came back the next day with this whole thing on his arm. And I'm like, I said to him, I saw what happened. I said, what happened? He goes, oh, I broke my hand. I said, how many places? Like 3 places.
Oh my God.
And I said, was it worth it? In his mind, it was. It was. And so for me, if I teach somebody to do anything, I'm going to be attentive to how they move and how they do things. I'm not going to be, if you come take a lesson from me, I'm like, oh, let me look at you. No, I'm paying attention to you because you're the most important person. And if you're doing something that's going to harm you, I'm going to pay attention. And I only told you this story not to say that that was a bad instructor in Texas. It was somebody who wasn't paying attention to what they were trying to deliver.
And again, I think very important distinction, because what is the desired end result? Is the desired end result be able to defend yourself, utilize the skill set, do the different things, to apply that? Or was it to physically accomplish hurting a board that didn't care? And I mean, I think it's a great distinction, and I think we do that a lot. A lot of times in communicating, or in the attempt to communicate value, I think we tend to shoot for breaking the board, as opposed to being in proper form and treating people with respect, honor, and dignity, and doing, is again the intention matching the approach. And so I think it's a huge distinction, and I will not make that mistake again, Sifu, in suggesting that you teach breaking boards.
It was not you.
No. I know. Well, I know. Trust me, I know that wasn't you. You would have kicked my butt right there. I know it wasn't me.
It's the right words at the right time from the right person can change everything.
Yeah.
Had the master stepped up and said, that's not as important as what everything else that you did, because that kid, his performance was phenomenal. And the fact that he showed up the next day with a cast in his hand and he was still willing to participate, the kid had a heart like you can't believe.
Yeah.
But if the master would have said the right words at the right time, because he trusted that person. And that's one of the things that we also have to think about, trust. When we are buying a product, when we're selling a product, do we believe in the product itself that's going to change somebody's life, or it's going to help them in a way that's going to impact them in a super positive way? Or are we not sure and we're selling the product because we just need a paycheck? I don't want to work for that company if I just need a paycheck. I want to work for that company because what they are selling is going to make a difference in someone's life. Even if it's travel agency, right? Even if it's getting from point A to point B, whatever it is I'm selling, I need to believe it, and I need that there's some truth behind what I'm selling.
Well, and I think what you just shared is looking at sale as an act of service.
Yep.
And how can we serve if the person that we are with isn't our top priority? So Jaclyn said, somebody being on the phone throughout the conversation, how could they not know? It's so basic. It's not even basic, it's scientific. We are all bundles of energy. When we're holding eye contact, we're reciprocating the message. We're exchanging the energy. If all of a sudden I grab the phone, I disconnect, and I don't mean it as a figure of speech. I disconnect my energy from you. How do I know? We do that with our kids. If a little child is having a temper tantrum, what do? You disconnect. You kind of stop feeding your energy into them. Well, that doesn't work very well when you're talking to a lead, right? So what that lead was experiencing is interruption in the current. It's kind of like lights flickering in the house. It's super annoying. And I would take it further to say that what happened in Texas was similar in terms of disconnected or interrupted energy flow. There wasn't truly a reciprocity between the master, the coach, and the student to get on that same clear frequency of this is what we're here to achieve. It was sale. It wasn't service.
So true. So true. And we always say, I mean, if you're serving the right people, the sale will happen. It's not even like a sale. It's just like if people want what you have because you're offering the right thing. That you are going to be able to serve that person and they're going to want the help. So then they're going to say yes. And it doesn't feel like you're selling them. I mean, at least I don't feel like it is when it doesn't feel like you're selling. You're offering, you're connecting. I call it, CEO, connect, engage, offer. You're connecting, you're engaging, and you're offering. You're not selling.
Well, I think a big part of that, and this is my area of specialization, is the framing of the word selling, the framing of the sales process itself. Selling is serving because you're simply presenting a solution to a challenge. That's the definition of serving. And so again, it's even in the description, and all the descriptions are very accurate, but as soon as you're connected in that, and I think the presentation, many times I'll just call it presentation because that's what it is the presentation of a potential solution and or the qualifying, the asking the questions to find out what challenge is being experienced. There are many times where I'll find out that somebody has a challenge and I will refer them to Sifu because Sifu does things differently. He offers things different than I do. It makes no sense for me to try to solve the immediate problem other than get it to the person who can actually solve the immediate problem, right? And by doing that, I've solved a problem, right? They had a need for that connection. And I think that's the part that, too many people, again, it's why I suggest becoming an asset to everyone you meet. Asset being a 5-letter acronym for a spontaneous servant every time. Become a spontaneous servant in the situation and understand you're now communicating value that possibly you have the solution, but it's also possible you know where the solution is. And that's where the value comes. That's now taking it to the highest value is knowing that you are a solution provider and you're not always the one who implements other than pass it along.
That's using all the tools you have already, right? So I think about everything we talked about today, whether it's your income, your relationships, opportunities, it all comes back to one thing, just one thing. How you communicate. not just to others, but also to yourself. And most people, they wait. They wait until they feel ready. They don't communicate properly. So they wait to learn how to communicate. I think that's the first thing we need to do. We go to kindergarten. What do we learn in kindergarten? The alphabet, right? I sing along with the kids who are 5 years old. I'm like, let's do the alphabet. And they're like, you want to sing with me? I'm like, yeah, let's do it. A, B. And so I start singing with them. Why? Because I want them to know that I'm in their corner. I'm there to help them. Would you believe I actually, the youngest, I have workshops on communication. The youngest I've taught is 7 years old. And they can't come to one of my workshops. And I do workshops every summer for about 10 weeks for kids from the age of 7 to about 15. And the reason I do it is because I'm actually not teaching them. I'm teaching their parents, because the kids can't come by themselves. They must have a parent with them. So I'm teaching the parents how to communicate so they can have a better relationship with their kids, and their kids can have a better relationship with their parents. It all starts with communication. And if we don't dive deep into communication, what kind of leaders are we going to expect in our future? I look at every parent and I say, your child is my future. So let's get them in the right place. Let's treat them right. Don't baby talk them. Talk to them as a young adult. And when you do that, it sharpens everyone's voice. That's why I love doing those so I'm actually getting ready to start another one this coming summer. And I'm excited for it because I've already started talking to some of the parents, and I let them know that this is not a drop off. You have to bring your kid, your 7-year-old is not going to write as fast as we speak. So I'm giving you workbooks. You have to write in them. And the parents are like, oh, you mean I have to do the work? Yeah, because there's homework. So thank you, everybody, for being with us today. I mean, if you guys want, I don't actually have another show. We can do this another 3 hours if you like. we can wrap it up, right? Because this is so much fun, by the way. You guys are like superstars. I am so thrilled that you all said yes to today.
No, this has been absolutely fantastic. Love this. Love the topic. And I just have to share what you were just talking about, those Sifu, teaching kids how to look each other and adults in the eye and look straight, shake hands, be present. God, it is so important. It's so important. And so many parents don't understand that as a parent, our job, if you haven't heard it, is to create participating members of society, right? And in order to be a participating member, we have to be in society. We have to know how to communicate. We have to be able to look people in the eye. That's our job as a parent. It's not to I mean, yes, we can kind of coddle, but do you scream and cry when your kid scrapes, their knee and falls down? No, you say, get back up and brush it off. It's just a scratch.
Yeah, mom's remedy to that was spit on it, rub it in, and get back in there.
Yeah. Oh.
I got to tell you, Jaclyn, one of the things that every child has to come to the front desk when they come to our martial arts school, and they actually have to speak. They ask for their card, and their card has their curriculum on it, and we just write little stuff on it for them. But they actually have to come and say, they can't just come and go, where's my card? No, they actually have to speak, and we teach them how to speak. So they come up and they're like looking and looking. I don't care if they're hiding behind their parents. Their parents cannot get their card. They have to get it. And so the child has to say, hello, how are you? And then I make them wait for an answer. And so if I'm ever in the front, and I always say exceptional and getting better every day. And every time the parents are like, you say that every time. I'm like, because I'm getting better every day. And then the kids are like, I said, and how are you? And they'll go, okay. Eventually, the kids try to say what I say.
Yeah.
So that I had a kid who had the hardest time with saying exceptional. But he would try so hard.
Oh,
And now all of a sudden, these are kids that were not talking. These were kids who were not communicating with adults, looking at somebody in the eyes, or they'll come to the front desk and they'll say to whoever's at the front desk, how are you? And they will actually wait for the answer, because in the past they were like, how are you? And then give me my card. No. I said, you got to stop. You got to listen to what they're saying, and then listen to what they say afterwards, because the front desk already knows that they have to ask the kid. They can't give them their card unless the kid says, how are you? At all. So the kid can stand there for 10 minutes, they're not getting their card, and they cannot go in class without their card. So we start teaching early on that communication and eye contact is probably the most important. And let's not forget who the best salespeople are. Kids.
kids. Yeah.
Why? Because they nag mom until they get it, or they nag dad until they get it. And so why do we stop as adults nagging? I'm not saying we have to nag to get the sale, but we should at least.
I would
find a
actually
way.
prefer a little different languaging, like being persistent.
There you
Persistent.
go.
And they're clear about what they want. They don't focus on what they don't want. They're very affirmative in going after what they want.
So true. So
Well, I think that's it, but that goes back to the intent, right? There's this high intention of pursuing something that they believe should happen. And again, we tend to lose childlike curiosity. We tend to. I started a talk the other night, and I asked, by a show of hands, how many of you would like to hear the result of this story? And everybody raised their hand. And I said, great, I'll tell you later. And everybody went, well, what was that all about? It's called creating curiosity. We've lost the ability to create curiosity. We're all looking for our moment in the sun so hard that we don't understand there's plenty of sun for everybody. And, let it bloom, let it go, let it shine on everybody. And I think it's interesting. That's why these conversations become so important, because they're different perspectives across the board. And I think it's really valuable to be able to share it all.
Very true. This was a valuable conversation
it was very valuable.
at the highest level.
That's it. Communicating at the highest level. I think that we can accomplish more if we can verbalize it correctly, if we can get our point across, and if there's clarity, right? Have you ever walked out of a meeting and somebody said to you, what was that meeting about? And you go, I have no idea.
Unfortunately, too many times.
25 years.
Thanks for bringing up that scar, Sifu.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that there's a lot of truth to it. Sometimes we want to be busy because we're important if we're busy. Maybe it would just be it's important if we're enjoying life, if we're living fully, if we're experiencing the greatest human potential we can. Again, it's reassignment, it's reframing of definitions a lot of times. And over time, in generations and in different things. I mean, that's why generations think differently, because they've been given a different set of beliefs. And their belief is just as valid to them as anybody else's belief is valid to them.
Sure.
So that's why shows like this become important, to get different perspectives and really understand those different beliefs.
I think with generations, if people are open to learning through the generations, their beliefs change drastically based on what they've learned
Mhm.
and based on what's going on currently. So a lot of times you will see a teenager on their phone, and then you'll see their grandparents on the phone as well. But then you'll see other grandparents who will never get on the phone and start scrolling. So the grandparents are either mimicking or they're doing their own thing.
Sure.
So we have to choose what we mimic as we go through generations.
So true.
Great point.
Yep. So true. Modeling.
Yeah, there's a big point. Again, I didn't know where you were going with it, but I thought, when I was 25, my parents didn't know anything. And then I got a little older and they knew something.
Smarter.
And then I got even older and holy crap, they knew a lot. And so I think that's it's the part of evolving,
Right.
and expanding and continuing to grow. That's why we're here. We're here to expand, continue to grow, and continue to live life to its fullest. And I think that's all our opportunity. The question is, have you accepted the opportunity? And that's an individual choice.
Very true.
So look at this. This was supposed to be a 45-minute show. We're already at 1 hour and 1 minute. So I want to thank you all for this incredible conversation. What I'd love to do right now is get people to know you a little bit more. So Lena, you have a good minute if you want to share about you, what people can expect. I'm going to put your website across the bottom, what they can expect from you.
Sure. I mentioned earlier who I am, but I think what's most important is what you get. And that is anybody who owns a business and feel like their revenue is stalling, they have hit that revenue plateau, and they would really love to make more without extra effort because they probably don't even have more to give. I'm in your corner. I would love to help reinstall the effortless energy flow into your business so we can power it up and truly unlock that potential that has always been there.
Yeah, love it, love it. Make sure you go to her website. Can you say your website? Because this also eventually will be on audio.
Absolutely. It is atlas-paradigm.com.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Jaclyn, you're up, my dear.
So I think most of us know between 250 to 500 people, if not more, and each of those people know 250 to 500 people. And most leaders and professionals don't tap into that network. I call it relationship capital. So I love teaching people to expand and grow their business and increase their ROI by increasing their relationship capital. Whether you're a leader or a professional, everybody needs to expand that. So go to my website and you can check it out. But that's what I do. Relationship capital. It's my jam.
So tell us the website.
You can go to Jaclyn. That's my first name. I'm going to spell it. It's Jaclyn. And my last name, Strominger, S as in Sam, T as in Tom, Rominger, JaclynStrominger.com. And just you'll find me there.
Perfect. Awesome. Awesome. Scott, my friend, you're up.
I love to help people achieve greater success. Many times that's through sales, many times it's through communication, many times it's a combination of both and any and all above. So love to understand where you are and help you get you to where you want to be. And there's a variety of ways of doing that. That could be through coaching, could be through training, could be through speaking, combination of all of the above. I don't hide well. Scott@scottschilling.com. If you have a question, reach out. You can go to scottschilling.com or championsofinspiration.com. Give you a hint. That's because everybody's got inspiration inside and needs to get it out.
That's right. That's right. Thank you, Scott. I'm Sifu Rafael. I'm also like Scott. We don't hide well, right, Scott? SifuRafael.com. So listen, I do so many different things. I call myself an architect of helping people communicate at a higher level, helping people get on stages, because yes, I do have only like 10 shows live, and soon enough there's going to be an 11th. I can't tell you with whom yet, but it's coming up. And if you're interested, just join me at sifurafael.com. I love helping people. My job in life is to help. And no, I'm not taking your temperature. I'm not an EMT. I will call an EMT for you if you need it. But if you need some of the services that I do have, go to sifurafael.com. I got to tell you what a pleasure today has been. An incredible Friday. Some people call it the end of the week, and therefore they call it the weekend. I say it's the strong end. Stop being weak. Be strong.
Love that.
Beautiful.
You guys, you all rock. Everybody, make sure you connect with everyone here. One more thing. Make sure you share this episode with somebody who needs to hear today's messages, because today's messages were super powerful. And we had a little fun too.
We did.
Absolutely.
Always.
All right, you guys. God bless
Thank
everybody.
you. Happy
See ya.
weekend.
Strong end, strong end.
Strong end. Happy strong end.